They got 9 of the 12 out of the ICU. Maya made herself remember that number, later, against all the other numbers, 9. The thing took the chase back down into the building's wet dark to digest what it had taken, the way it always did. It has always settled before, and the lull it left behind was not mercy. It was an intermission. Everyone in the building understood that now. Even the ones still saying fire marshal and evacuation route. Even the administrators trying to write a press line. The hospital had a few hours. After that, the thing would be hungrier and larger, and the salt flush trick would not work twice. Maya used the intermission to get on to sublevel 2, because Vance had stopped being able to stop her. Authority is a structure too, and Maya had watched this one fail in real time. A department head who turns out to have known about the monster does not keep her command post. By 3 o'clock, the actual incident commander was a state patrol captain who had never heard of regenerative medicine and did not care about it. And when Maya said the words, "There is a way to put it down and Dr. Vance has been hiding it," the captain gave her a flashlight and 2 troopers and told her to show him. Sublevel 2 was cold storage, and it was a cathedral. That was the only word for it. The lab had built, in the deepest dry room of the hospital, a vault of stainless tanks 2 stories tall, and the tanks were full of brine. Maya could smell it, the clean industrial bite of hypersalinity, so concentrated the surface of it held a skin of salt like ice, and suspended in the brine, lit from within by the same green phosphorescence she had first told herself she imagined in a crack on Friday, were the cultures. Tissue. Sheets and ropes and slow-pulsing nodes of it. The living essence Oceana had stirred into 40 wounds in 1912, farmed and split and grown for 100 years in a controlled, salted, obedient state. Small, because of the salt. Docile, because of the salt. 100 years of the only regenerative line on Earth, exactly as Vance had said. And Maya stood in front of it and understood, finally and completely, the shape of the thing she'd walked into on Friday.
They didn't just bury it.
Eli was beside her. The troopers had stopped at the door, unwilling to come further in.
They harvested it first. In 1912 they had a monster they couldn't kill and a miracle they couldn't explain, and they figured out they were the same thing. So they drowned the big one in cement to stop it eating people, and they kept a piece. In salt. Where it stays small and does what they want.
She turned to Eli.
Your granddad's third secret. The one he wouldn't even tell your dad. It wasn't what's keeping it down there. It was what we're doing with what we cut off it.
Eli looked at the tanks, at a century of his family's silence rendered in stainless steel and green light, and said nothing, because there was nothing to say that the tanks did not say better. It was Vance who answered. She had followed them down. Of course she had. You do not leave your life's work alone with a state trooper. She stood in the doorway with her arms folded and her good shoes ruined, and she did not look ashamed, because she did not feel ashamed. And that, Maya thought, was the most frightening thing in a building full of frightening things.
Do you know how many people that tissue has saved? Not abstractly. The number. I do. Burn patients who should have died in agony and went home with skin. Children with wounds that don't close, closing. The reconstruction line, the graft line, the work that put this hospital's name on the buildings you parked next to. All of it comes out of these tanks. You want to dump salt on the only source of it because you had a bad afternoon.
She unfolded her arms.
I have spent 20 years keeping the most valuable biological material in human history alive and asleep and useful. I am not the villain of your day, Ms. Okafor. I am the only reason there's anything down here worth the risk of going near it.
And the worst of it, the part Maya hated, was that none of it was a lie.
How many did it eat upstairs? Today. The number. Do you know that one?
Vance didn't answer.
Ruben Diaz. 3 in the ICU. The therapist in the pool.
Maya let the silence sit.
Your tissue saved a lot of people in a lot of years. The thing it came off of is eating people right now, in the building those people's gratitude paid for. Both numbers are real, Doctor. You just only ever counted the one that flattered you.
The plan came together fast, the way plans do when there is no longer any room to argue with them. Eli drew it on the back of an evacuation map. The lowest enclosed space in the building was not the ICU and not the cold storage cathedral. It was the original foundation pit, the 1912 tomb itself, the burst chamber on level 3 that the thing had let itself out of. Everything in this building runs down, Eli said, and so does that. When it settled there. It had 100 years of habit pulling it back to the one room in the world it knew. They didn't have to find it. They had to be ready when it went home. So they would give it an ocean in its own grave. The cold storage tanks held more concentrated brine than the Gulf of Mexico, sitting 2 stories above the tomb by gravity. The hospital's water softening plant, Eli's domain, the unglamorous heart of any big old building, held tons of salt and the pumps to move it. Road salt in the winter supply bay, pallets of it. Drop the brine, run the softener salt and the road salt into the flooding water. Seal the level 3 fire doors, and turn the tomb and the corridor outside it into a basin of water saltier than any sea on earth. Let the thing go home to rest, the way it always did. Then close the door and fill the room with the one substance in the universe that made it small. It would not be the open ocean, but it did not have to make the thing harmless. It only had to make it small enough, and slow enough, and salt-drunk enough, for the second half of the plan, which Eli wrote on the map in block letters and underlined twice and did not say out loud. Someone had to be down there to open the tank valves by hand, because the automated system ran through the lab vans had spent the afternoon protecting, and there was no time left to fight her for it.
I'll do the valves.
Before Maya could.
Don't argue it. I know the wheels, I know the order, and I'm the only one who does. My granddad poured that floor when he was 19 and spent the rest of his life not going back down there.
He folded the map into his shirt pocket, over his heart, an old man's neat habit.
Seems like somebody in my family ought to finish what they started. You run the softener feed from up top. You keep the salt coming. That's the part that has to not fail, and you're the one who tells things whether they'll hold.
He almost smiled.
Stamped letters and all.
Maya wanted to argue it. She had a dozen arguments. She used none of them, because every one of them was a lie and they both knew it. And a man who has waited his whole life to face the thing under his family's silence has earned the right to face it.
Why'd you take this job?
Eli asked her, while they waited for the troopers to clear the last of level 3. It was the kind of question men ask when they've decided not to be alive much longer and want, briefly, to talk about something that isn't dying.
Drove all the way down here on a holiday weekend for a crack in some old cement. Why?
Because nobody else would.
Then, because he had told her his family's secret, she gave him one of hers, not knowing yet what it would come to mean.
And because I was born in this building. Right upstairs. They fixed a hole in my heart when I was 6, opened me up, closed me back up, sent me home with a scar and a clean bill.
She rubbed her sternum without thinking about it, an old reflex, the thin white line under her shirt that had been part of her so long she'd stopped feeling it.
I don't remember being sick. I just remember they made me well. I guess some part of me always figured I owed the place a weekend.
Eli Brandt looked at her for a long moment, and something passed over his face that she would not understand until much later, when understanding could not help anyone. A flicker, quickly hidden, of a man doing arithmetic he wished he hadn't.
6 years old. What year would that have been?
But the troopers called clear from the stairwell, and the intermission was ending, and there was an ocean to build, and Maya never answered him.